everyone. We will just wait for a couple of minutes for everybody to join, connect their audios, and then we can begin. I can see that a lot of you are joining us for the first time today. So if you have any questions, if you would like to put forward any thoughts before we begin, please use the chat box. We'll just begin in a couple of minutes. I think let's start in 2 minutes or so. Okay, I think we can begin now. So once again, a very warm welcome to everyone who has joined us today. And my name is Sakshi. I am a part of the Environment Education Unit at CSE. And we are conducting this lecture today under our university program, wherein we have a series of lectures, which we are calling the Environmentally Speaking series. And we hold these lectures every month for our network members, which is called the GEN network, the Green Educators Network. So for those of you who are joining us for the first time today, what I'll do is I quickly introduce you to GEN, to the university program at CSE, and a couple of activities that we have done recently. I will then introduce our speakers for the day who are already here with us, Richard Mahapatra and Kiran Pandey from CSE. And then we can hand over the stage to the speakers of the day. So to begin, let me quickly tell you about the GEN network, the Green Educators Network. So those of you who are teaching in any educational institution, in any college or university in India, you are eligible to be a part of the network. So under the university program, we wanted to build a community of educators who are not only aware about the ways our environment is changing, the other happenings that keep them updated about the happenings that are going on in the world, but also are motivated to share it with their students, to build a community of students who are equally aware, who are equally concerned about what's happening to our planet. So with this vision in mind, we have built a community. We have more than 900 educators connected with us in this network. And we organize monthly sessions. We have a lot of offline meetings that we do, then resources that we share with everyone. So if you are an educator, you are most welcome to join the network. We will put the link to fill out the form in the chat box. So you could do that. We will also share it with you over email. So even if you want to do that later, please go ahead and do that. And before we move on to the session today, I just wanted to show you one activity that we have recently done under the university program with our Gen educators. So we have also recently started engaging with our student community. So all the network institutions that we have started to involve students in our activities. We did one activity called Agenda for Survival with students, where we invited them to attend a few sessions by CSE experts. And then they worked with assigned CSE mentors to work on, to research on, to report on any local environmental issue that they felt was pertinent to their community. So we put together all the articles and submissions that we received from students into a magazine that we have named the Climate Chronicle. Let me quickly show you a glimpse of the magazine. It is a very a wonderful publication. We will share the link for this publication in the chat box as well, in case you're interested to go through it later on. Yeah, so I hope my screen is visible to you. This is a short glimpse of the magazine that we have put together, the Climate Chronicle. And we had students from universities, from different universities. We had master students, we had graduate students, uh, from government universities, private universities, South India, North India. It was a very good mix, and it was a very good experience for us to engage with them, and obviously for them to get a chance to interact with experts from CSE. So they have written the articles on a variety of different issues. They have talked about climate change and food. Um, they have talked about air pollution. They have talked about energy. So you would be welcome to browse this publication if you want. The link is there in the chat box. Just give me 1 second. Right. So now let me introduce you to the speakers and the topic that we are taking up today. We are here to talk about the flagship CSE-DT publication, The State of India's Environment 2025. And we have with us Richard Mahapatra and Kiran Pandey from CSE, who will be taking you through the major findings of the report. The report, as most of you would already be aware, it has a very rich legacy and a very long history. It's backed by decades of research, and it has been in print for more than past decade. And Richard here is the man behind the whole publication. He and his team have worked extensively on this year's report. Kiran is also a part of the DTE team, and they both will be taking you through the major findings of the 2025 report and what are the lessons that can be drawn. Richard is the managing editor of Down to Earth, and he's a veteran development journalist. He has a wide research interest area. He works on themes from agriculture to food systems to climate change to extreme weather and much more. So welcome, Richard. We also have Kiran with us, who is a program director at the Environment Resource Unit at CSE. She leads the India Environment Portal, and she contributes to the Environment Data Center at CSE. Her specialization is actually in research data science and management, and she's been doing this for over 30 years. She has made key contributions to various down-to-earth reports as a part of the editorial team. She has been behind the data in SOE. So both of them are here to answer any questions, to take you through the whole report, and to give you a sense of what it is all about. So without a further delay, let me quickly hand it over to Richard and Kiran.
Thank you, Sakhi. Can I start?
Yes, Richard, please.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. And as you know, the State of India's Environment Report, that's the annual report, much awaited annual statement on state of India's environment. And this is the 12th edition, 12th edition. And how do you actually, when every year you bring out this report, I may sound very familiar when I talk about this report every year. It's just to say that you might be looking for the good news, but unfortunately, I don't have actually by facts, by evidences, any good news to share. But I must say that yes, the report brings out, as we all expect, the state of environment has some, not that gratifying messages, but at the same time, it does show also that there are efforts, there are initiatives that give us hope that things could be better. So, with this disclaimer and sounding very familiar, repetitive, this year as well as I present you the State of India's Environment Report in brief. As it has been structured, so I'll take you through the big messages. Then after me, Kiran will take you with evidences through big data to show what is the state of India's environment. And forgive us again, we might actually sound familiar, similar, and equally, that's what do you say this, we used to call it at the peak of COVID that grim days. We are just speaking that things. So let me start with this. The State of India's Environment Report 2025. What it shows? The first thing is, as we enter 2025, we are into the end of the first generation of the 21st century, or called the alpha generation. That's basically the first generation, which are just going to complete 25 years of the new century. Usually we call it the, the first silver jubilee of the century. After that, golden will come, but this is the first silver line. So how this generation exactly positions, that's actually is something this State of India's Environment Reports articulates and presents you. So to say this generation alpha, that's 25 years plus into the 21st century, is the largest generation actually in the recorded human history, with around 2 billion people in the age group of 25 years. And this is the first generation of the 21st century. Who are they? I think many of us, I think below 25 years belong to these things. And I think they're very dramatically called the generation alpha. So where do we stand actually with this generation? If you go by the classic principle of intergenerational responsibility for environment, for anything natural. That's, that popular saying that we did not inherit this planet. Rather, we actually borrowed it from the next generation. So by applying this natural principles, intergenerational principle of natural world, what do we have to offer to the new generation of a 21st century? So again, I am sorry, but this is what we have to actually offer to the new generation. That the generation alpha, that's 25 years plus, and that to quantify 2 billion people in the world who are just 25 years old. What do you offer them? Definitely, the 2024 is one year that can be arguably, going by all evidences, can be called as the year the climate changed. Till now, we have been talking about climate change only, or the climate is changing. I think the situations, as our report shows, as our living experiences show, as all the scientific evidences show, the climate actually changed in 2024. 2024 could be the year differentiating between a before climate change and after climate change era. So that's why we are offering to the next generations, or the first generation of the 21st century and the new generation that will come up, it's basically a planet that has changed. We don't talk in terms of the climate is changing. The climate has changed. And if you go by these evidences, let me put the first one. So why I'm saying so. In 2024, the planet actually experienced a temperature higher than the guardrail of 1.5 degree centigrade. As you know, why this is a guardrail? Because any temperatures rise above the age, industrial revolution period, that's in the 1780s, and 30 years after that, 18, 1875 and 1900, something like that. 1.5 degree rise above that average is considered as something like that. Scientifically, the whole world is actually tuned towards making the warming lower than, or fixing the warming, arresting the warming at lower than 1.5 degrees centigrade. So all our climate mitigation, all our emissions, and all the targets are tuned towards stabilizing the warming at 1.5 degree. That's the Paris Agreement. That the whole world agreed, and that's all. That's why also it's considered a guardrail. So in 2024 we crossed. So this is the first year that our warming actually crossed 1.5 degree above the industrial age average. In fact, the exact figure is 1.6 degree. And remember, everything that you have been experiencing has been happening due to a 1.1 degree increase in the global average temperature, surface temperature. So 2024 is actually a milestone, rather a grim reminder, a grim milestone, grim reminder of that, where we are heading for. Second, why we call it the year the climate changed. This also marks the 45 years of consecutive months. We have not experienced a single month, a normal month. When I say temperature wise, a normal month, every month in the last 45 years, we have recorded temperature that is above the normal. So to put it very plainly, we have not experienced a normal climate in the last 45 years. Those who are below 45 years and 2 months below it, below the age of 45 years, you can safely say that you people have not experienced a normal climate. You can read it in the textbook, you can read it in the IMD, Indian Meteorological Department's temperature references saying this is the normal, this is the, should have been, it's above normal, below. But actually, nobody has experienced. And for the first generation of the 21st century, that's people below the age of 25 and less, that's 2 billion people, they have not experienced even a planet that they can actually compare with. So why we call it 2020 for the year that climate change also? Because in 2024, the climate, the planet has changed so much that it's no more recognizable. I am 55 years old. If I apply all the parameters, the planet that I inherited or lived for few years with normal temperatures and all these things, I can no more actually recognize the way it has changed. How? For example, 85% of the planet's land has been altered. So you cannot compare the system of land ecosystems currently with the, say that 45 years ago. The oceans that we have now, you cannot compare it. The state of the ecosystem, the biodiversity, we cannot compare it anymore. So it's beyond recognition. So it's for the 2 billion people and for more than 5 billion people who are below the age of 45 years, it's no more a planet they can actually compare and say that this is the planet I was born with or I was taught. So it has completely changed. So the first message out of is that in 2025, we enter into a year with a completely changed climate. And just let me give you a few broad parameters where we can feel actually and can experience the new climate. First, as I told you, uh, for consecutive 45 years and for the consecutive last 18 months, a climate record has been broken every month. So I cannot say that, March is comparable to February of 2025. It's different parameters. Either the temperature record has been broken, either the extreme weather records have been broken, which Kiran will speak about with numbers, but it's not recognizable. Now, second, we all have evolved with this natural phenomena called day and night. Day we have temperature, certain temperature, night we cool down. As simple as that. Our life has evolved around this. Whether you are a human, you are a zebra, you are a bird, you are an insect, anybody you are, any living organism does not accept this day and night rhythm of the planet. And the difference is mostly temperature. In 2024, for the first time, we actually entered into an arena where the difference between day and night has vanished in terms of temperature, because that's the only thing that divides actually besides your light and all these things, the temperatures. The human body actually cools down and the planet cools down, and we have evolved according to it. So the first time the Indian Meteorological Department came out with this something, one parameter to gauge the climate or the weather is warm nights. That, so that happened in 2024. First time in our legal, or you can say that formal weather and climate forecast, we have a term called warm nights. And you will get to hear about how many warm nights we got it. Or simply say that temperature, the minimum temperatures is actually rising. And the difference between the daytime and nighttime temperature is actually shrinking. So leaving all of us in a really warm environment where we don't have much difference. but our existence is dependent on that. So just to say it, we have entered into an uncharted territory, as it was forecast few years back. We don't know exactly how the planet will unfold now. And something happened in September 2024, as this State of India's Environment Report has documented. In September 24, in one of its judgment, the Supreme Court is recognized that the climate change violates the fundamental rights of human. What do you say that it's basically the constitutional right to life? Actually, the climate change violates. So that's the first time also what happens. The apex, the constitutional court of the country, merged or saw the crisis, the climate emergency crisis, in context of constitutional principles or rights. So now the climate change is also a constitutional violation, a violation of a constitutional right. That's right to life also. So that's all about how in 2024 we actually breached many planetary boundaries. So that happened. So that one. Now let me take you through what big other things that happened and what we are going to see actually unfolding at a very crisis level. First, in 2024, we observed the 40th year of the Bhopal gas tragedy, the world's worst industrial accidents. I think many of us know it. Many of us might have lived through it also, not as victim, but hearing about it. But it was something that already considered at the world's the largest industrial disasters happened due to leakage of a chemical, that's MIC, methyl isocyanate, very mysterious, deadly. And this is also one disaster that continues to hit a population of 500,000 people every day. And we observed the 40th year. Across the world, many big environmental legislation were adopted post the Bhopal gas tragedy, including in India. So after 40 years, what do we see? We are in a actually very chemicalized world. And if you go by the scientist and you read the State of India's Environment Report, which carries a detailed chapter on the chemicals, the world has recognized, means basically the scientists have recognized that chemical pollution has entered to such a level that it has the natural capacity of the planet has been breached. Or you can say that we are no more able to fight the chemical pollution in the world. Wherever you live, whichever species you belong to, there is no escape from the spell of chemical. Microplastic. It has breached the strongest barrier in a human body. It has gone to the central nervous system. Mother milk is found contaminated with microplastics and other chemicals. These were the safest, strongest protections that we are offered, and it has been breached. So if you just, our chemicals have not just become forever. Remember, most of the chemicals are forever. We release it and it's there. It's not going out, just like your plastic, microplastic. There are at least 3 million chemicals that we deal with are exposed to. It's not going away. They are not just forever. We also have found that it's everywhere, whether it's central nervous system, it's the mother milks, or anyway, leaf, fruit, anything you name it, and you have chemicals now. And as I told you, we have breached the planetary boundary right there. And just to quote the World Health Organization's data, 2 million people are dying due to chemical pollution, and it's going to get worse. So that's the one that I think it's a reminder that chemicals that we expose to in our day-to-day life, and these are all chemicals that we have manufactured, have reached to a level that we are no more safe from it, wherever we are, including the newborn, inside the mother's womb, anywhere you see. So it's there. The second crisis, or you can say that, the overall, the physical environment, biodiversity. What do you have to report it? Again, I'm sorry, means might sound very repetitive, familiar to you people, but this is a crisis that has to be told. If you don't know the crisis, if you don't think about the crisis, you don't get to fix it. So what the state of biodiversity? First, globally, the planet's actually biodiversity is breaching the planetary boundary. Planetary boundary are basically set by scientists. When you say that this boundary, when you breach, means you are actually reaching to a stage where the damages you have done to that particular sectors are no more irreversible. Means the damage has been permanent. So biodiversity is one sectors where again we have breached the planetary boundary. And what are the signs? First of all, you must have heard about the sixth mass extinctions. 5-1 we don't have experience of, and the only we see it in movie or anything like that, dinosaurs extinctions and all these things. So we had 5 extinctions. Extinctions are very natural to the planet. But the sixth one that's happening currently, mass extinctions, is something unusual. And you can say that unnatural. It's caused by one species, and is the Homo sapiens, or we, the humans. And this extinction rate is actually has reached to unprecedented level, even if you compare with the last 5 extinctions. I'll just give you an example. The natural extinction rate, which used to happen at 15,000 a year, is now happening in 150 to 15 years. So it means a species that goes to extinctions naturally in 15,000 years is becoming extinct in 15 to 150 years. And this is at the time when we don't know exactly how many species are in the planet. Many species have been discovered or recognized only after their extinctions. By the time we actually find that there was a species we just discovered, it's extinct. So now the second big important things happening in the biodiversity or in the natural world is called the plant pandemic. We survived the COVID pandemic, the human pandemic. But remember, currently there is a great pandemic sweeping across the plant world. Plants are getting more and more diseases, are contagious. That's why from hopping from one country to another landscapes, and it's across the world. So currently we are going through a plant pandemic that impacts our food security. At least 54 diseases have become pandemic level. Many of you who track all these things, this current sugar productions, deep in the sugar production is caused by a disease in sugarcane. That's one of the plant pandemic that's sweeping. There is potato, there is everywhere. I think there are many diseases across the world are sweeping the plants, impacting the plants. And we are in middle of that pandemic, which is called the plant pandemic, which is actually can threaten our things. Now coming to the next one, the big message out of the State of India's environment report. Did we forget about the COVID pandemic? I think we prefer. Rather, we have gone through a, what do you call, very conscious amnesia phase. We want to forget it happened. It's not. The world is going through another pandemic. It's not just the COVID. It's called the long COVID pandemic. After 5 years, the COVID has not vanished. Still, it currently every week it impacts 100,000 people. Some 5 to 7, 8,000 people die every week. It's being less reported officially, but it has not gone up. But what is it left behind is, I think, in the history of human history, no other disease actually caused so much of after effects. It's called the long COVID. If you go by the disease burden, the long COVID, or basically people who have survived the COVID, goes through around 300 symptoms. And that's called the long COVID, which actually sustains for weeks, for months. Currently, 409 million people are suffering from long COVID. I'm sure that Kiran will bring out things. 409 million people undergoing the long COVID. And it's one of the biggest region for morbidity in the world. And India is no exception. COVID is very much there. Long COVID is there. You must have heard about, this very frequent cardiac arrest, very frequent of cardiac problems, then many other problems, even as simple as, coughing and all these things also. So we actually are going through that post-pandemic impact, and it's there. Now, the next issue come, are you going to hit another pandemic? Yes. In 2024, scientists have been very close to this uh, decision, that it's very definitive decision that within 10 years maximum, there will be another pandemic, human pandemic, just like COVID. It could be deadlier and it could be more wide. Remember, COVID pandemic has been the widest pandemic to hit the planet, even hitting like all the polar regions also. It has hit the places where 2 or 3 humans resided, and it will be there within 10 years. And the immediate threat, which look at it, is in 2024 and continuing into 2025, is the avian influenza. So that's basically the H5N1. It's sweeping across 400 species now. It has transmitted to humans also. We have human cases, from poultry to human, from dairy to human, and America is already under the grip, and there are 25 other countries, including India, which is there. It's just one mutation away from a pandemic. When I say this, I mean that you have got the virus from other animals to other animals and from animals to human. But we are just away from human to human uh, transmission. That's precisely what happened with COVID. We are just one mutation away. And scientists say that it could be already there. We are not sure when we'll actually report, but there are human cases. There have been few cases where there is a background check and doctors are not sure about it. But this could be the one potentials where exactly we might have the next pandemic brewing. America is already under its grip. You must have heard about the rising, price of eggs and poultry in America. It's due to that millions of chickens are being slaughtered and called, and that's why the price is going up. In fact, Americans are going to import now on this thing. So the next pandemic is due. So that's one big message out. Now coming back at the last point from the key points. We have been talking about biodiversity. We have been talking about the surface temperature. We have been talking about the forest. And as I told you, I think, and I'm repeating it also, the forest one planetary boundary will be reaching is soon, that the planet will have more planted forest than natural forest. That's the state of degradation, deforestation. The final one, we forget about the oceans. Oceans are something that we know more about the surface of moon than our own oceans. We don't know. But oceans actually control the climate, the weather, everything. So what's happening? As we speak now, 2/3, India is surrounded by from 3 sides oceans. And all the oceans are having a heat wave now. The oceans are under fire, literally. And what happens when you have heat waves sweep the oceans, or oceans having more heat than, you know, the highest ever ocean heat we are recording now in 2023, 2024, and I think, trust, I repeat myself again, doomsayers, and in 2025 also will breach the record. So when the oceans hit, you have the whole air systems actually disrupts. You get that extreme cyclones. This is all about that, no, our life. So you'll have more humid situations. So you'll have more cyclone storms. You'll have extreme rainfall because the moisture level will go up. But at the same time, because the oceans are heating up, it's rupturing the whole life system of the planet. It means fundamentally our breathing systems or the living systems in the air just above the surface has been disrupted, and we saw its evidences in 2024. And one of the worrying evidences is that few air systems are stealing. It means हवा नहीं बह रहा है अभी. हवा नहीं बहता तो कुछ नहीं बहता. पॉलिटिकल हवा से सब कुछ हो जाता है, सरकार चेंज हो जाता है, बट दिस हवा needs to be as usual and circulate, because this is the actually air of life. If this circulation disrupts, our life will be disrupted. Just remember, when was the last time you experienced a normal planet? Just to report it back before Kiran gets you the differences. 322 days out of 366 days in 2024. That was a leap year. We had an extreme weather events. And if you look at it, each of them has something to do with the warming oceans. So this is what I have to give you the key messages out of the State of India's Environment Report 2025. And again, I'm really sorry, I might sounds very familiar, repetitive, but this is the crisis. Thank you. Over to Kiran.
Thank you, Richard. Kiran, should I share your PPT now? Kiran, are you there?
Yeah. Thank you, Richard. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible, Kiran.
Okay. Thanks, Sakshi, for the presentation. Um, next slide. So, I want to now talk about few key data points that the book has used and referred to. So, Richard has spoken about the key findings. These are based on the writings, the opinions the book has talked about. Now, for us, data is very critical as it adds evidence to what we are saying. Okay, and the data points that I'm going to show are basically the evidences that do not deny the key findings that Richard just spoke about. For example, he just spoke that this year was the hottest year on record, and this slide that you're seeing clearly shows that this spike over here clearly shows that yes, the year has been the warmest so far, and this is in 175 years. Okay. And what does this mean? This means that the sea level rise is also on the upper side. It has in fact both are doubled since the start. The recording has started. Next slide, Sakshi. Yeah. Now, Richard just spoke about the record-breaking events. In fact, when we started tracking these events, we used to get overwhelmed with every month, because every month has been record-breaking. So, for example, from Jan to August, these are the hottest ever recorded months since 1850. That means since the records were kept. Similarly, 3 months, September, October, and November, were the second hottest on record, which means that the record breaking every month for us it's being shown as a record breaking month. And the same trend is reflected across India as well. As you'll see, almost every month had been a record breaking month in either in terms of maximum, minimum, or average. And this slide that you're seeing shows where all the most important weather events had happened and the extreme weather events. And what does this indicate? This indicates that as the world gets hotter, it is reflected in terms of extreme weather events that has hit almost the entire all the continents across the world. Okay, and you will see in this, no country was spared. All countries were affected by these extreme weather events. Next slide, Sakshi. Yeah. And India was no different. So, since 2022, we have been tracking these events across the country based on the media report, based on the data put out by the government agencies, especially IMD and the National Disaster Management Division. And what we have found is that that almost over 80% of days in the year, the country had been experiencing the weather events, extreme weather events. But this year has been much more worrying. Why? Because so far science was saying that events will rise in terms of frequency and in terms of the impact. But if you see, our database has clearly showed that yes, India had experienced such events on 322 out of 366 days. Okay, and if you compare this with the last 3 years, these are the highest in terms of number of days that the country had experienced. And for example, this year 88% of the days the country had seen these events, which is again up from 86% in 2022, which means yes, the trends are really worrying. So what does this mean in terms of human lives? Okay, this also meant that more people will be killed by these events. And this is again, it's not less. So if you see in terms of percentage, there's been 15% increase in human fatalities, human deaths that have happened due to these events. And what I feel is these could be the underestimates because these are based on media reports and some and government agencies. But we have not yet covered the rural areas as well. So these numbers may be quite high. Similarly, other important impact these events have on our farmers, okay, agriculture, their livelihood, their economy. And once again, the data clearly shows that this year has been one of the worst years for the farmers. Why? Because the farmers have lost at least 4 million hectares of crop area, which is standing crops in 2024. And this is a substantial increase by 84% from last year, from 2023, and 108% from 2022. And so these are again the numbers that have been compiled by us, and and these are again underestimates. Why? Because these numbers do not reflect the state from larger states like Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, due to lack of data from these states. Next slide, Sakshi. Yeah. As Richard just spoke, that the world has been warming, India also has been warming. But what was worrying last year was not just the daytime temperature. What we also felt that the nights, when we want to relax and we feel nights will be cooler, over 17 states had seen warmer nights in the month of March to June. Okay? And there were 6 states that had as the month progressed. So what does this mean? If you see, this means that our body is getting affected. There's no time for our body to get adjusted to these temperatures. Okay, so where the body can't cool down, there's less gap between daytime and nighttime temperature, and this affects our health. And not just health, the science clearly shows that this affects the biodiversity as well. These changes in day and night time temperatures and warmer nights affect the plant biodiversity. They also affect the animals, and so the entire ecosystem gets affected by these changes. And of course, in terms of humans have seen that in terms of deaths of humans due to these extreme events, heat kills the most. And why? Because now there are scientific evidences which show this is because the warmer nights are responsible for those deaths that happened during the heat waves. Next slide, Sakshi. Yeah. And the trend continues this year as well. Well, the report doesn't talk about that, but as I told you, we track these things regularly. So this year itself, in the month of February and March, okay, so now the first thing is heat waves have arrived earlier in the month of February itself. Okay? And Goa and Maharashtra were hit by the heat waves to begin with. At the same time, February had also seen night temperatures which have been above normal by 3 to 5 degrees, which means again, so nights are warmer by 5 degrees Celsius. This is quite a lot. And as the months progress, in March, we have seen warm nights which have been recorded on 15 March. And these warm nights have been recorded in the states of Orissa and Jharkhand. So in terms of geography, there's been some change. Last year, Gujarat had recorded, Maharashtra had recorded. This time, Orissa is recording warmer nights for the first time in this year. Okay? And there's one more trend that we have seen is that they have arrived a bit earlier. So in Orissa, if you ask, Orissa has recorded warm nights almost 1 month earlier than last year. Okay? Jharkhand has recorded warm nights 1.5 months earlier than last year. So that means the extreme heat, whether it's day or night, have arrived earlier, and that also indicates that we have warmer months. We have to be ready, prepared to deal with the heat in the next few more months. Sakshi. For the first time, a book has been tracking the DT annual report that we have just talked about. It also has tracked India's sustainable development goals and the progress that we have made so far. And every chapter has got a climate change also that shows that the goal on SDG, which is about climate action. So as the trends have shown in terms of day or night temperature, that the country is warming, which means we need action on ground. But progress on climate action, which is part of SDG goal number 30, is not on track. Okay? And one of the most important indicator that is used to measure the progress is a disaster preparedness score, where we are far behind. And by 2030, the score should have been 50 out of 100. But at present, we are just at 19.2. So that clearly shows that country is not prepared to deal with disasters which are linked to the climate change and extreme weather events. Other important indicator under climate action is on air pollution and health impact. That also shows that the quality of life, that is measured in terms of DALY rate, that's disability adjusted life years, is 34,000 per lakh population, which is 3 times the target that we are supposed to meet. Okay, so but we are again far behind in these two indicators. That means that by 2030, just 5 years from now, we will not be able to meet this particular goal on climate action. Next. Now, every year, this is an important issue that the book captures, and this time also we have captured this, and we have focused on the capital cities of our country. And what we have realized is that air pollution has leading to shortening of our life expectancy. An average Indian life will be shortened by 3 years and 6 months due to air pollution. And one important aspect the book captures this time is that our capital cities are very poor in these indicators. And in fact, Lucknow in Uttar Pradesh, if you're staying in Lucknow, you're likely to lose 6 and 5 months in terms of your life due to air pollution. Next slide, actually. Next. Yeah. This year, the book has captured the state of surface water pollution and groundwater pollution both. So what we have found is that, again, these are based on government data. The data has shown that it shows two things. One is, of course, poor state of the rivers in terms of heavy metals. Half of the rivers that have been monitored for heavy metals have shown varying levels of toxic heavy metals, which affect the health seriously. But at the same time, the data also reflects poor state of mounting of our rivers. We have tested just 37% of 870 river water quality stations, which means that there's data deficit, as well as the data that has been presented shows poor state of our rivers across the country. And at least 16 rivers have been, in 16 rivers, we have found at least 2 or more toxic metals. And once again, in terms of data deficit, 11 states have not tested for the heavy metals. So this clearly shows that we need to do better testing, water testing, and at the same time ensure that the rivers are cleaned and proper actions are taken to ensure that this doesn't happen. Next slide, Sakshi.
Kiran, would you please try to wind up in the next say 5 minutes or so?
Okay. Next. Next slide. Yeah. Other important, just focus on plastic waste, Sakshi. Plastic. The previous slide. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, just 1 second. Just 1 second. This one?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So interesting. If you see the slide, this shows that the country had a rule that we are supposed to ban single-use plastics, but there's something lacking in the implementation of rules, and as a result, the country has been generating plastic waste, which is record high in 2022 to 23. And what is even more worrying is that 15 states, the increase has been by more than 50% between 18, 19, and 22 to 23. At the same time, it was talking for me that smaller states and northeastern states, the problem has been increasing. In fact, if you see, the report has different categories where we are showing the state performance, and almost all the northeastern states they're not able to control the increasing plastic waste in these small states. Okay, which means we have to take care of our cities as well as in terms of states. The northeastern states also have to be considered in terms of plastic waste management. Next slide. I think Vijay has spoken about this. Let's move on to the next one. Yeah, this is. So as the book captures the state of biodiversity from different parameters, and we capture this conflict between human and animals every year. This time, elephants have made a mark in terms of the number of human deaths due to elephants, which has increased. So it looks good news, when we hear about the increase in number of elephants. But on the other hand, if you see that that impacts human lives, and elephants have killed more humans in the past 3 years. The numbers have gone up from 461 to 629. At the same time, in 10 states, there has been a substantial rise in deaths due to elephant attack. And within these states, 3 states, Orissa, West Bengal, and Jharkhand, almost more than half of the deaths have happened in these 3 states due to elephant attacks. Next slide. Okay, and again, once again, overall, so what this translates is that overall, the SDG of biodiversity, we are off track on these indicators. If you see, the book talks about it compares between target and where we are reached, and the key targets, for example, on area under desertification, on land degradation, the country is far behind than what is required by 2030. Next slide. I won't talk about this. Richard has covered this part, Sakshi. Let's move on to the next one. Next one. Okay. So as the world is warming, the data in the report shows this will definitely lead to more diseases. especially diseases caused by vectors, and especially by mosquitoes. And the data that we have got at global level shows that due to result of warming across the world, that malaria cases across the world have increased by 16% in the last 10 years. Okay, and of course, Africa is the most affected by these things. But what is worrying is that this also means that as India is warming, there's a longer chance of mosquito-borne disease increasing. And in fact, last year, the cases of dengue also were increasing at a dramatic rate. And because diseases like chikungunya, dengue, malaria, there are high chances of these increasing this year as well due to high temperature. It also means that the number of months that mosquito needs to survive has increasing, and this also leads to more mosquito-borne diseases, and we need to be prepared for these kind of diseases in the future. Next slide. Yeah. So the data that has been that shows that in India, besides the controlled diseases, non-controlled diseases also increasing, and both the diseases are leading to, of course, we need money to deal with the diseases. Every Indian has to get treated in either private or government hospitals. But overall, what this means is that and India has pocket, okay, and this has been increasing from 17 to 18, which means, and this is by almost 24% increase. That means Indians end up paying more from their pocket to take care of their health, and this demand that this calls for more public investment in our health systems. But if you ask in terms of going forward, next. Yeah. And if you see in terms of states, what this means is that in 5 out of 21 states, these people spend more than 50% of the health out of their pocket. So this expenses more in 5 out of 21 states. And UP, one of the largest states, here people, the out-of-pocket expenses account for 63% of the per capita total health expenditure. Yeah, and in fact, the general perception that Kerala will be very good in this parameter. But surprisingly, in Kerala also, there has been substantial increase in terms of out-of-pocket spending at 59%. And of course, Punjab and Andhra Pradesh also they're not behind. Next slide. Next slide. Yeah. This is, I think, second last slide. So, interesting trend that we have observed is that in India, besides, you have seen lifestyle diseases are going up. And what does that indicate? That indicates something wrong with our food habits. If you see in terms of money that people are spending on their food, the data shows that in urban India spends 28% of its monthly food budget on fast food, in terms of beverages and processed foods. And rural India is not behind in this case. Even in rural India, spends 21% on these on the processed foods. This indicates that the lifestyle diseases are going up, and the reason could be, again, this has been linked between food habits and your diseases like especially cardiac diseases, obesity. These are linked to our food habits, and the data that about the money that we spend on food clearly indicates that. Next. And overall, once again, this does reflect in terms of the SDG indicators on health, where again we are not on track. And what is worrying is that here also Indians spend an average of 30% of their monthly expense on health care, which is almost double the target that is required to meet by 2030 under SDG, which means Indians will again bear, they'll have the highest heavy burden of the health services if we don't strengthen our public healthcare systems and reduce out-of-pocket expenses of our people. Next slide. I think that's for it. These are just key findings that the report has shown. There are many more data points that is in the book for you to refer. Please do buy your copy of the book from the CSE store.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Kiran. We can probably take one question from the audience because we have already reached our allotted time. So if anybody would like to ask anything from either Richard or Kiran, you would be welcome to do that.
Many of you attended.
Sakshi, there was a question in the chat box around warm nights.
Let me just check. Yeah, if Disha Sharma is here, would you like to ask your question? I think she's not in the meeting. So, Richard, Kiran, we would probably, the audience would have more questions once they go back, think about it a little bit more. So we will direct the questions to you if we get any. Right. And with that, I think we have reached the end of the session for today. Thank you so much for joining in. If you would like to discuss anything further, you are welcome to drop us an email. We'll put a GEN email ID in the chat box. We have also put in all the relevant links for the State of the India's Environment Report that Richard and Kiran have quoted in their talk today. We have put the link for that in the chat box. So you can go and order a copy if you wish. And I hope to see all of you in our upcoming sessions.
Sakshi,
Yeah, Richard.
Sakshi, I have a question. Somebody, Mr. Srinivas Rao has said that Stanford University professor indicate that the ideal human population for the world is around 4 billion.
Right.
So if I get some clarity on this, means any query, Mr. Rao has?
Srinivas sir, if you are here. Yeah, I think he's Srinivas sir, would you like to give further clarity on this? Yeah, I think he's not responding right now, Richard. So maybe we can get in touch with him.
Yeah, okay. I think if he has any query, I think
Yeah,
something on this Stanford report and the ideal populations.
Right. Okay. So thank you so much for joining in today, and we will see you in the next session. Right. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Kiran.